So today I really wanted to talk today about what are your expectations when it comes to health and healing, or really anything in life? And I'm going to give you some examples and why this topic has come up. So I've been in practice for 26 years, over 26 years. And it's really interesting to me when people come in and, I'll take x-rays and I'll do an examination and I'll go through the history. People have had severe traumas, beyond, it could be car accidents, or maybe they've played impact sports. Not even impact sports. Maybe they played tennis or golf, but, repetitive stress. Maybe they've sat in a chair for 30 years doing computer work. Maybe they were a paratrooper and they jumped out of airplanes. And so a lot of your history, and I want you all in the chat right now to think of something. If I were to ask you, have you had any traumas, any slips, trips, falls, anything? Most people, when I ask them this question, they're like, no. And I'm like, nothing whatsoever. Not a slip, not a trip, not a fall, not a slip on the ice. Dad didn't bump into a wall. You guys, we have hurt ourselves more than we even remember, right? And P squared, I'm a softball player too. So how many times did you dive for a ball, collide with a player? When you play sports, sports are interesting because it's part of the game. You're constantly getting banged around and whiplashed every single game. But yet, because it's a sport, we don't think about it from an injury perspective because we've conditioned our bodies to take those kinds of impacts. However, it is traumatic on the body. So I want you to start to recognize that even if you're like, no, I haven't had any traumas, you absolutely 100% have. So when we're talking about health and wellness and healing, and Devil Dog's going through some healing things now where, it's going to take some time. So I had a patient, living that charmed wrapped in pillows life. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. People walking around and bubble wrap their whole lives. Right. Yeah. P Square says all the time, I played third, stood even in line with the pitcher yeah. Right. I mean, holy moly. Oh, you must have been a good third baseman. Yeah. I played third for a minute and then I got too afraid of getting hit in the face after getting hit in the face a couple of times. So I'm like, eh. So I had a patient, that I was working with who came in, and he's probably in his 40s, somewhere around there. He's well into the 300s, probably high 300s for his weight. He actually said, when I asked him about slips, trips, falls, anything like that, he actually said he is a walking athletic injury. So he was admitting all of the things, and he said, oh, I played every sport except basketball. He said, I've had injury after injury. So he was being honest with himself and with me with regards to that. And then nothing came up about his weight, though, because that is stressful and traumatic on the human frame. And so there's so much to unpack here. So stay with me. So, because if we think about how did he get like that, the time that it took him to get like that, like that's first and foremost, is what happened when you are an active individual, when you played sports like that. What happened that, what was the disconnect where now you are 200 pounds heavier than you should be, and your health is literally like in the shitter? That's not a sustainable life. And he doesn't feel well and he hurts everywhere. So that took a long time. So it takes a long time for you to create a disaster in your health. I mean, it takes a lifetime, doesn't it? So Devil Dog coached it for 13 years. So think about the stress as a coach, right? Coach it. It's pretty mentally stressing, isn't it? Yeah. And here's Happy Mac. I used to do crazy crap, jumping off bridges, snowmobiling, basketball. Stopped after I broke my back doing stupid stuff on an ATV. When I have men in my practice, I usually will say to them, how many times have you jumped out of a tree? I mean, it's always like, oh God, like all the time. We jumped from the garage into snowbanks. I mean, you guys are nuts. Like most women do not think of that, those kinds of things. So, and yes, so getting weight off is hard. And this is why, like, he didn't just suddenly become, 350 pounds. That was a slow progression for him, which means it has to be a slow progression to get the weight off. Um, I'll admit the injury slowed me down. I didn't know how to address it at the time. And so that's another problem, right? And so maybe his injuries caused him to slow down. Maybe maybe they prevented him from being active. That can happen, is that you're like, oh gosh, it hurts so bad that I don't want to be active. Or, like Paula's saying, is that, or P squared, everybody knows her by, like P square is saying, it's like, if you're not guided properly, how do you know what to do beyond an injury? How do you know how to rehab it? Because I think most of us are also pretty used to babying an injury, because we're afraid we're going to make it worse. We're afraid we're going to get hurt again, and we're afraid we might make it worse. So in this process with him, he I told him, I said, listen, and I said, we're going to have to do something. We got to address the nutrition. You can't be carrying this much weight on your frame and not be super inflamed. And he came in because he was having vertigo, which is dizziness. And he does have some, history of neck pain and some mid back pain, low back pain. His history is all of that. But now he had this like sudden onset of dizziness, of vertigo. And he didn't know where it came from. I'm immediately thinking just massive, massive inflammation. Blood pressure. His blood pressure was normal, but you start thinking of those kinds of things. He had gone to his primary care physician, so everything was cleared from that perspective. It also makes me think of food sensitivity. Food allergies can cause these kinds of things. And again, if you're eating the wrong foods, which he has to be to get like that, then he's, it very well could be coming from his diet. So I told him, I said, we're going to need at least 4 months to wrap our arms around this, to get this corrected. He had some degeneration in his neck. He had clear whiplash injuries. He had some spinal compression fractures, some degeneration of the discs. He had a lot of physical damage to his spine. And he was only like 40 something. So you could definitely tell like he'd lived pretty hard. And that puts compression on the nerves. The nerves can't communicate with the body. And then when that happens, it dampens the signal. And then the body loses its ability to heal itself. So I said, listen, we're going to need at least 4 months, to get this started. But we're probably looking at a solid year just to get you moving in the right direction, just to start figuring out lifestyle, just to start getting your spine so that it's going to hold the adjustments. Because with that level of inflammation, it's very hard for the body to stay in correct alignment, because it's under so much stress. So, I laid out the plan for him, and he said, well, what if I decide, if it's not working after 2 weeks, what if I decide then to not do it? And I looked at him, I said, well, it's not going to work after 2 weeks. And he just kind of looked at me, and I said, what do you expect? And this is the title of today's topic, is what do you expect for healing? Because when you have that much damage, when your health is, and I'm just not any chiropractor who, a lot of chiropractors don't know how to manage the nutritional aspect of things, that inflammatory aspect of things. A lot of chiropractors might refer him to a nutritionist, but then that's one more step for him. Will he really take that step and get the help? I don't know. But we can't get him into the right place unless we do all the things. He's a ticking time bomb. So he said, well, it should work after 2 weeks, shouldn't it? And I said, you tell me. I said, what are your expectations? Because given what I just told you, do you really expect that 2 weeks is going to resolve this for you? And he was like, well, I mean, I know you're right. And I mean, it kind of like kept going back and forth. And I think he was more concerned about the money and what it was going to cost him. So I think in his mind, he was really only willing to part with, financially what 2 weeks was going to cost him. When again, what's it costing him already? What's it costing him? His lifestyle, again, he's miserable. He's in pain. He doesn't feel well. He can't move well. He's not working like he should. I mean, he is working, but he's in pain at work. He's not getting his job done like he should. So, my question to you is, has this happened to you? What are your expectations of anything you've done? Maybe you were learning to play an instrument, and it was like, oh, well, it's going to take, it's a lifetime to master an instrument, isn't it? You learn a certain amount, you become really good at it, but the masters of anything they do continue to learn. So congratulations, Devil Dog. That's great. I'm glad you did that. That'll really bring the inflammation down and help you out a lot. Happy Max says, yep, but I'm a woman. No girls in my neighborhood. Suck it up or sit on the sofa. Yep, right, Mac. I have a big brother and had to defend myself. Yep. Yeah, looking for the magic bullet. Absolutely. That's probably a bullet, but it's coming up a square, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, everybody wants the magic bullet. And this is why I do Reset Monday, which I haven't done in a couple of weeks. That's a whole nother story, but don't worry. It's coming back. It's just a time issue right now. But when we're talking about the magic bullet, it's like, it just doesn't exist. And we have these weight loss drugs that people are like, oh, I'm going to line up for that, but they're not changing their lifestyle. I know several people who are on these drugs who've lost a bunch of weight, but they haven't changed their lifestyle. And guess what? They're putting the weight back on, and the weight's going to come on even faster because they lost muscle mass. And now they're going to actually, their whole body composition is going to be completely restructured. They're going to have a lot more fat mass because they lost so much muscle mass. Now that's going to be even harder to get off. So your expectations, I really want everybody to understand that you have to have realistic expectations for anything, and especially when it comes to health and wellness. So let's say you're trying to figure out how to eat better. That's going to take some time. If you're, and to me, it's second nature how to eat healthy. But I know a lot of people are like, they just don't know. I told that story about my patient who was like really upset because she was like, well, I'm eating chicken Alfredo for lunch. And she goes, I don't know why I can't lose weight. I'm eating chicken Alfredo. I'm like, oh my God, it's just laden with everything that is counterproductive to trying to manage a good, healthy diet. You want to have chicken Alfredo once in a great while. I mean, that's fine. I'm not going to fault you for that. But she was also doing like frozen breakfast sandwiches, thinking it was good because there was eggs on a bagel that was frozen that had all kinds of preservatives in it. So these things to me are second nature. I understand for you and the general public that it's hard to know, because I told her and she was like, oh, she had no idea that those wouldn't be healthy. So this is why it takes time. Learning takes time. I mean, think about, for anybody who's ever gone to college or gone to trade school, learned a skill. It takes time. You're not a master at anything in 2 weeks, period. Nothing, zero. Not going to happen. So, I mean, you might as well just, put a Band-Aid over it. Hey, Laura, how are you? I appreciate it. You can skip the first 10 minutes because I was having quite the technical snafu. So skip the first 10 minutes. So thanks for being here. Appreciate that. Um, yeah, so much fat and salt in the chicken Alfredo. I mean, and like I said, we all know that we'll have indulgences here and there. And that's fine. But this is how her lifestyle is. And again, she's has a disconnect of what's bad and what's not. So that's why you guys need to be signed up on this channel. That's why you need to be sharing it. That's why you need to invite your friends in so that they can learn, so I can help teach, so I can take everything that is so obvious to me that I know people need help with and help you make sure that you can step into a better life. And then also make sure that we manage those expectations. And so P squared learned a language. Yeah. I mean, how long did that take? And if you did it as an adult, you are probably, it's a lot harder, isn't it? I mean, you really have to do an immersion of some sort, right? So let's see. This hive mind denied. Hey, how are you? Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up button for me. What about eating breakfast at a diner every week? Breakfast is, there's a lot of meals that I can eat out that I can make sure that I'm getting a breakfast worthy of myself. So I don't know what kind of diner you're referring to, but I think like if you eat out anywhere, so if I go out and let's say I want, eggs, I will ask for them to not cook them in oil, just, poach them. Because the oils, those are the seed oils, they're super inflammatory. So those are really bad. And then I'll get like, a slice of ham. I'm not afraid of bacon. And then maybe like a side salad or some tomatoes or some cottage cheese or something like that. Diners will usually have that kind of thing. And then, if it's something you're doing every week, then definitely be mindful of what you're ordering, and they'll accommodate you with what you need. So, try to stick with high protein. So that's where, eggs will come in, an omelet with, loaded up with different meats. Try to stay away from like the sausages, like a lot of the greasy stuff, but usually the ham is a lot leaner. Yes, it's, pork. Some people try to eliminate pork because it can be inflammatory, but just trying to give you some ideas that if you're going to have eat breakfast at a diner once a week, and I'm assuming, so let me ask you, I'll just ask, why do you eat breakfast at a diner every week? Because that sounds like something where you're, I don't know what it is for you, but I'm just going to give a little scenario. So hive mind is going out to a diner once a week. That sounds like, I'm assuming I think your picture is a she's meeting somebody. It's a group, it's a person, it's a social event. Social events are so nourishing for your soul. So I'm not about to tell somebody, oh, don't go eat in a diner, because we need that social connection. That is also incredibly nourishing and healthy for our minds, for us as humans, to make sure we're making those connections. So yeah, I'm not sure why you go, but if that's why you go, and a lot of people will do that, they'll meet, they'll meet up with a family member, or, a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, a friend, and they'll do that on a regular basis. And that is really important to make sure, having a meal together with somebody it's healing. It feels great, or, again, it just nourishes your soul. So, Devil Dog, great. Thanks for staying in here. I appreciate it. You take care of yourself too. Sending you all kinds of love and prayers. So he had brain surgery. So everybody just send him a little prayer hands, and everyone just keep him in your prayers, please. Let's see. My relatives do it, and I don't want to tell them it's a bad idea. Okay. So your relatives do it. So now maybe, because again, they're getting together for that social aspect. I think oftentimes when people get together at restaurants and diners and things like that, eating out, going on vacation, there's this sort of mm, license to eat whatever you want, and we can't do that. So maybe maybe it's not telling them that eating at a diner is a bad idea. Maybe it's helping them make better choices. Maybe it's saying, listen, if you're going to go, that's great that you're getting that social interaction, because, again, I love the social connection. But if they can make better choices, if you can help them to, maybe ask, what are you ordering? How can and maybe you could just like do this thing. Hey, you got, if it's your relatives, aunts, uncles, whatever it is. Um, hey, Dr. Paula, this woman I found on YouTube, she wanted me to do a challenge and see if we could all eat out together, and order something healthy. I don't know, like make it a game, and blame it on someone or something else, and create, like I say, that you're doing a social experiment or something like that, so that it doesn't feel like you're coming in and going, you guys shouldn't eat that. But get them involved, going back to my mom when I was growing up, and she changed all, took all the sugar cereals out of the house. She changed the way we ate. We, this is why I do this. It's because of how she raised me. She instilled it, like she etched it into my DNA. And so she made it, it was always, if we had to go grocery shopping with her, we had to read the labels. When we cooked dinner, we had to talk about what the food was and how healthy it was. We had to talk about the food in the grocery stores and read the labels. And if it, what does that sound like? Does that sound like food? No, it doesn't. Great. Then we can't have it. So it's a slow process, but I think it could be a, fun thing for you to try. Or maybe get them to, maybe find a diner, like I don't know what diner they dine at, but maybe find a place that has healthier offerings. So something like that. Just could come up with some. I could probably sit here and brainstorm about a whole bunch of other ideas on how to do that. But just some thoughts, and I hope that helped. Give me a thumbs up if you think that helps, or if you want us to dive a little further into that. Because again, that's where, if you're derailing, if you're continually doing the same thing over and over and making poor choices, you will eventually pay for it. So you pay for it now, or you pay for it later. Hey, Dr. Mark, nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Catch up time. Yes. Not with a Ketchup. Yeah. And so for anybody on here who doesn't know, and I will drop it in the chat, I did a TED Talk. So I spoke at TEDx Detroit in 2022, and my talk was, action is the silver bullet to health. And the reason I did that, and it's all revolves around my mom and how she raised us, and building a foundation of health and making sure that you are nurturing that. And one of the things that she, let me put this in here. Let me drop that link. There you go. Okay. So go watch my YouTube video. It is, or my TED Talk, and it's only, it's 8 minutes. But the whole point, and at the very end, I said, you just have to start today and then start again tomorrow, because it's not going to be perfect. But you still have to manage your expectations that it's not going to look perfect. It is going to take time. Healing takes time. Longevity takes time. I mean, I live a relatively healthy life and lifestyle. It's my whole life. It takes time. Like, it's not ever going to end. And I think that's also where the problem lies is, people are like, well, I've been working out at the gym for, 3 months and I haven't seen any kind of change. Keep going. Just keep going. So, thank you so much, P Squared. I appreciate it. Yeah, you just have to keep persevering, because you have to want something better for yourself and your family. And so I always talk about, again, based on how my mom raised me, it's legacy health. Where does the legacy come in? And, hive mind, it sounds like maybe your relatives have some habits that you didn't adopt, but maybe this is like a reverse legacy. I was I got my daughter I've been mountain biking since I was like 25, which is just a couple years ago. Wink, wink. So I did, what did I say? What did I say? I just sounded like Dr. Erica. Her famous line, now's not the time to do less. So I've been mountain biking since I was like 25, 24, 25, I think is when I started. And I love it. I love being in the woods. I love being outside. It's so, oh gosh, it's just peaceful. It's a great workout. It's, I can't get on a road ride. I don't want to road ride. Road riding to me is like boring. You're just like, straight shot. It's ever changing when you're in the woods. So my daughter she loves bike riding, and she has a mountain bike, but she's never taken it off road. So I started taking her mountain biking with me, and she was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful out here. Now I know why you love it so much. I'm like, I know, is this great? So it occurred to me today, and I think of these, like, I kind of want to have what's the camera that you put on your helmet? You guys know what I'm talking about. I kind of want to, I would love to record during my rides. And granted, they're an hour and a half. I mean, you guys don't need to watch the whole thing, but I have all these thoughts, like it's this moving meditation for me. I'm constantly creating lessons for you guys. GoPro, thank you, Happy Mac. I'm constantly creating lessons for you guys while I'm riding. So one of the things I thought about today was I've got my daughter, I'm 57 years old, first of all, and I don't know too many women who are still mountain biking at my age. I'm out there by myself. I shouldn't say that. You don't know where I ride. So, but anyway, I don't really have that many people to ride with. So here I am mountain biking with my 19-year-old daughter. Now, you guys, I'm just going to call it. It's badass, because when you do cool things and stay strong and flexible and fit, you get to do cool things with your kids. Like that's the whole thing. It's the whole point of it all. So, oh yeah, it's my whole life. Yeah. We'll have to tell her. You get to do cool things with your kids. You don't want to just like hear about, you always want to hear about their adventures, but wouldn't you rather go on an adventure with them rather than, sitting home and waiting for them to come and tell you a story? This is why I do this, because I want you all to be able to have this level of longevity, the flexibility. I mean, we've got to really tap into the flexibility, our nourishment, and know and understand that it is a freaking process to stay healthy and fit and flexible. I mean, it ain't easy, and it gets harder as you get older. So I know some of you all, I might be preaching to the choir. So let's see, try skateboarding at 67. Oh my gosh. Are you still skateboarding? That is awesome. I mean, for real, like how cool is that? And think about that, like the balance, the coordination that takes, like that is such a constant exercising of the brain and the nervous system to be out on a skateboard. For me, to be out on a mountain bike, like when I'm on the mountain bike and there's a hill that I have to climb, and there's ruts and there's rocks and there's roots, and you have to strategize a line that you're going to take to climb so that you can make sure that you get to the top without having to stop in the middle of the hill. So absolutely. So when you're doing things like that, skateboarding, mountain biking, doing things that force your brain, it's not just the physical aspect, you're getting all of it. I mean, Oh my God, that's so great. Congratulations. Golf clap for Dr. Mark. That's pretty outstanding. Now, when you say skateboarding at 67, are you like in a park and doing flips and things like that? Or are you like riding down the road? I'm curious. Like, what's your level of skateboarding? I had a patient, this was years ago, and he was a cop, very fit guy, and did a lot of stuff with his kids. So it was really, really cool to, to see that. And so he comes in one day and he tells me, he says, I fell off the skateboard. And I go, oh, okay. And wasn't any big deal to me that that he was skateboarding because he did a lot of stuff with his kids. Like I didn't think it was anything he couldn't do. And I said, well, what happened? And he goes, well, I was showing my kids how to do this thing where you go up the ramp and you flip around in the air and you come down. And I said, okay. And he goes, well, I got in the air and I couldn't flip around. And so I just fell. And I go, okay, that sounds painful. He goes, yeah. He goes, I was probably, 5, 6 feet up. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So he fell. And I said, how many times have you done that before? And he goes, oh, I've never done it. And he goes, but I could do it in my head. So I figured, why not? This is I've told this story so many times. It's one of my favorite stories where I'm like, that's confident, right? That because you can do it in your head, and there's a lot to say for visualization, but you also have to practice the physical part of it. So yeah, so he hurt himself pretty bad because he thought he could do something that he had never tried physically, even on a smaller scale. So nobody go out and do that. Okay. Yeah. So Dr. Mark says, no, I do flat streets, no ollies. I can wheelie though and fly off a curb. Okay. Still mad respect. So yeah, got it. Yep. Nice job though. That's yeah. I can totally see that. You're getting crickets out there. I'm getting crickets on the mountain bike trail. So, I mean, guys pass me all the time, and I'm like I don't really care. Like, I'm out there. I don't stop. Once I get on the trail, I keep going. Took me, let's see, I did 14 miles today and it took me an hour and a half. So it's not horrible. And I definitely know, I'm slower than I was even 10, 20, 30 years ago. I still have pretty good power because I don't have any trouble with the hills. I still get up all the hills. I got a lot of power in my legs. The endurance, I do feel a little more tired at the end of the ride. So, there's of course, I'm 57. It's not going to feel the same as when I was, 25 or 30. But it feels pretty darn good to be out there. And I'm not out to break any land speed records. I'm out there to get a great workout, build my nervous system, enjoy nature. And then afterwards, I park at the lake. There's a beautiful, it's called Spring Mill Pond. It's a beautiful swimming lake. There's, no boats or anything on it. It's just a beach. And so I park there. I run the 14 miles and then I come back, throw my bike in the car, and I go and I jump in the water and I float. And it's like, oh, this is beautiful ending. Like it's such a great way to end an amazing ride. So that's my happy place. That's my favorite thing to do. So that's P Square says, my husband always says it worked out better in my head. Yeah. Yep. I get that. So, yep. And yes, exactly. So yeah, you're out there doing it. So don't be afraid to just get out and just do something. And again, like the joy that I got from just the realization of like, oh my gosh, I'm actually doing this with my kid. And a couple weeks ago, we were going up a hill and she had stopped. She couldn't make it up the hill. And she was right in front of me. And so I didn't make it up the hill. So I was like, dang it. So I turned back around and I went to the bottom. I go, I can't not, like, this is a thing for me. I can't not go all the way up the hill. Like this girl is not stopping in the middle of the hill. So she went to the top and I said, hey, I said, record me coming up this hill. You guys are going to see this video at some point. I'm trying to figure out how to craft it. And so she videoed me coming up the hills. It's a pretty, just a long ride. Or long hill. There's some turns and again, ruts and kind of, when you're trying to go steady and then it takes a sudden upturn, that's a lot of quad power that's required. So you can get burned out. Like you have to really know strategically how to climb. So she recorded me. And then the other day we were out there and I was ahead of her and I got to the top of that hill and then I got off my bike and I recorded her coming up the hill. So that's going to be the video. I'm going to stitch those together and just say, how cool is this? That, this is the legacy of health is I'm out here with my kid and we're doing this thing together. But that would not have been possible if my mom did not instill in me these, just these incredible values when it comes to health and wellness. And again, I didn't say to her, how long do we have to eat like that? I might have, I was 7 or 8, right? I might've been like, how long do we have to do this? And, I'm sure her response was forever. It's forever, you guys, it's forever. So what are your expectations, right? So let's go back P squared. It's my whole life. It should be your whole life. It should be dedicated to being better today than you were yesterday through good food, through movement, proper nourishment, proper sleep, sunlight, connections, those social connections that we're talking about with, going out. And okay, it's fine. You're going to meet people once a week, but make good choices when you do. Let's see what else we have in the comments. And it's such a great park, isn't it, P squared? I know it's so pretty and it just flows. It's awesome. Yep. And standing on the pedals and stuff. It's so fun, isn't it? Did you ever mountain bike, Dr. Mark? He says, you got to picture it going up a brick wall. It takes time. I'm sure. I know. Yeah. So I get the whole, like as an athlete, like visualization is huge. For anybody trying to learn something, visualization is a powerful, powerful tool. In fact, if you were watching the Olympics, it was the men's gymnastics and the one gymnast, it was right before he was going on and he was standing there and he had his eyes closed and he's, moving his body and his head and he's going through his routine in his head. He was visualizing it. So that helps your neurology to make sure that your performance is on point. But it usually only works like that way. You're not just going to go, okay, let me picture what it's like to, you have to connect the dots between the physical and the mental before you go trying to climb, flip around brick walls on a skateboard. So yeah, not a good idea. I do not recommend it. So street bike 10 speed. Oh yeah, got it. When we lived in California, Dr. Mark and I went to chiropractic college together. And when we lived in California, I did a lot of mountain biking, a little bit of road riding. I just never, roads are too busy. I can never really relax. Again, getting out into the woods, it's beautiful, it's peaceful, a lot of beauty to see. You get to see the seasons change. It feels safer out there. So yeah, absolutely. So just start. It's not going to be perfect. So start today and then start again tomorrow. And again, go watch my TED Talk. We have TEDx Detroit coming up here. If anybody's in the Detroit area, it is on September 18th. And so just a couple of months, that is my birthday. So like P squared, if you want to go, watch for that link. And anybody else that's here in the Detroit area, if you all want to meet up, and it's going to be amazing. I will not be, I don't know. I haven't submitted an audition tape, but I'm trying to think of, I would have to do something really pretty outstanding because they've got some pretty outstanding speakers, but yeah. Oh yeah. So here, let me tell. Okay, so Dr. Mark says, so Cortland Keith, he was the mountain bike pro. Dr. Court, he also went to school with us. So here I am, new to California. I am 27 years old, and I'm dying to go mountain biking. And it's March. I hadn't mountain biked since probably October because once it gets cold, I don't ride. So it'd been a few months. So I'm out in California, and he's from California. So he goes, we're going out, this weekend. Come with us. I was like, okay. And I go, I probably can't keep up with you. He's like, that's okay. We'll just show you, we'll show you a ride. And I'm like, okay. And Dr. Mark, do you remember? Do you remember Derek? I can't remember his last name. Tall, had glasses, from Canada, super nice guy. I can't remember. So it was me, Court, and Derek, these two just badass mountain bikers. And this is when, again, how long does it take? What were my expectations? They didn't tell me how long the ride was going to be. They wouldn't tell me is really what it came down to. They were like, oh, it's not that. They were like, it's probably like, 15 miles. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I can handle that. You would probably remember him if you saw him, Mark. So we go out on a ride, and I can tell you now, because that ended up becoming my favorite ride ever when I was out there, but I freaking hated it at the time because it was so hard, you guys. It was so hard. And just a little flash forward, we're born for hard. Okay. Like if you don't go out and challenge yourself, you don't know what you're capable of. But I hated it at the time, and I hated them. So here we are. It's I think it's about, if I remember correctly, it's about 10 miles. It's like 10 or 12 miles, just single track climb. Okay. So let's just call it 10 miles. So 10 miles, single track climb. And then you get to this one spot, and it opens up, and it gets into a fire road. And this fire road it's a mile. And that mile felt like a million miles because it was gravel. It was steep. It didn't have, when you climb, for anybody who rides, and yeah, we were in the San Jose area, P Squared. For anybody who rides, when you're climbing, and when you get to a flat, it's not even flat, but it's flatter than what you've been climbing. You can use that as a rest, and then, get more energy to keep going. There were no flats. It was just like, and I was like, oh my God. And so I kept saying, where's the top? Where's the top? And they're going, it's right around the corner. It's right around the corner. That ride, you guys, was 25 miles. I'd never ridden mountains. I'd never been on terrain like that before. And again, I hadn't been on a bike in 6 months. So I was so mad at them. I was like, I can't believe you guys did this to me. But again, it turned out to be one of my favorite rides because it was beautiful. It had so many great elements to it. And I kept going out. I kept going to do it. I kept going to do the hard thing because I knew eventually it would get better. So my expectation wasn't, I couldn't get any answers for now. If they'd have said to me, it's 25 miles and it's brutal, I might have said no. So good on them for not really being truthful to me, because they must have known that I was capable of it. Right. And you're capable of it too. I know you're all super strong. You can tap into your own power. And so I need you to know that hard is okay. Like it's okay mentally, physically. It's okay because it makes you stronger, and it builds the resilience, and it lets you know what you're made of. And so your expectations should be to continue to drive forward, to continue to tap into your power, do the things that are going to create better health. And don't put a timeline on how long is it going to take for me to be healthy? How long is it going to take for me to correct this? You just need to start. Don't put a timeline, because this patient, going back to him from the beginning, he's got to just start, and then he has to stay the course. How long is it going to take? The rest of your life, my friend. That's how long it's going to take. I think I just created a new mantra, P squared. I think I did, because yeah, it has to be, it's a lifetime for sure. Happy Max says, my friend did a TED Talk several years ago. It was such a surprise, made me so happy. So it's so cool. TED Talks are really amazing. They're inspiring. And then to be at 10X Detroit, the vibe of the whole place, amazing. I mean, you're in Toledo, right? Aren't you just south of here? You should come up for it. It's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah, it's the vibe of the people, the speakers, the event itself. It is one of the most inspirational days you can ever attend. It's really cool. I've met some really cool people. So let's see. And oh yeah. Happy Max says, super nice Canadians, so many to choose from. We actually did. We had so many Canadians in our class. But I, of course I remembered him because he was my first mountain bike person. So yeah, San Jose area. P Square says, used to ride in the Santa Monica Mountains. Oh God, it was so beautiful there too. Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Happy Max says, your poor legs, burning rubber band legs that talk to you for days. Yeah, it was rough. It was really rough, but I did it. I didn't stop. I mean, when we got to the top, I stopped. I may have stopped before we got on the fire road. But when we got to that fire road, and that was always a goal for me when we would go out and ride, is I'm like, don't stop on the fire road, because it's so much harder to get going again. Like, you can't stop on a hill, period. Like, guys will come and, they'll come up behind me when I'm climbing, and, they'll be like, on your left. And I'm like, you're gonna have to wait. I'm not stopping for you. I'm not going to try to have you pass me and ruin my climbing line while I'm on the climb. Like, you can just chill the F out. And that's how I really feel about it. So yeah. We did some great rides. There was another ride we did down in Santa Cruz. That climb was a 14-mile fire road. I think in total that was like a 20-mile ride. Like, it's no joke out there. Mountain biking is no joke out there. I went up to Lake Tahoe multiple times. Lake Tahoe was insanely beautiful. You start climbing at 6,500 feet. So I have a couple of pictures of me like perched up on a mountain overlooking Lake Tahoe up in Heavenly Valley area. I mean, and the things that you can see, this is the other thing too, is when you can do things like that, you get to go places and see things that no one else can. I remember so many times we would be at like a really great climbing area, mountain biking area. And I would see people, they'd shuttle a car. So we'd start climbing, they'd be in the parking lot, and they'd leave a car, and then they'd all jump in the other car with their bikes, and then they'd drive to the top and they'd ride down. And I'm like, that's cheating. That's so cheating. For me, like it's so much more beautiful to get to the top of one of those climbs and look out over the Pacific Ocean and Monterey Bay or wherever it is, Santa Cruz. The joy of seeing that also came from the hard work that I put in to get there. So that's the other thing, like the payoff of it is like, you won't get that kind of mental connection to the thing unless you can do the thing to get you there. Hope that makes sense. All the things. Yeah. Same thing gets boring. A challenge keeps you into it for sure. Absolutely. Oh yeah. Tahoe was like, I said, it felt like a million little men in my lungs scrubbing them with Brillo pads. Like, it was crazy. And I didn't train for elevation, but we would climb. It was from 6,500 feet up to 10,000. So it was, it was pretty intense. And those were like 25, 30-mile rides. And they were just crazy rides. Listen, I'm not going to cast this over myself to say I couldn't do it today, but, I'd love to try, right? I'd love to try. See, and chat, see where my body goes at this point, Um, so Dr. Mark says, I'd go off the road downhill. I can see it, 20-foot drop. I'll stick to the streets. Yeah, for sure. Uh-huh. Yeah. Nope, nope, nope. Yep. It was a lot of fun though. A lot of great stuff out there. You know, rock climbing, did a lot of rock climbing out there. And I say these things, not necessarily to brag about my fitness level, but because it forced me to challenge myself. There were things that I wanted to do, and I knew that I had to just challenge myself and just go out and do them and meet the people that could take me to do the things. So finding a partner, finding a group, finding people that you can tap into is really going to help you to move the needle and to start to tap into better lifestyle choices. So if you like, I've got a young kid, he's 20, and him and his girlfriend go out for ice cream every night. And I'm like, you can't do that. And I said, why don't you tell her that let's go for a walk. Let's go for a walk. And his health isn't great. He's a thin guy, but I know he's not healthy. He's got, he suffers migraines. He's got digestive issues. He doesn't sleep well. He's highly stressed. So you have to make choices and understand that there's longevity in this. Like, it is a long game. Start today and then start again tomorrow, right? What do you think? That was oh man, we've been going a solid hour. All right. Well, listen, thank you guys so much for being patient with me, getting the live stream up and running. Clearly, I can't do these from outside, even though I'm right under the Wi-Fi puck and connected. So, yeah, kind of crazy. So, 20-year-old get skateboards. Yeah. Get outside, move, do something. So he's a pretty active kid, so I'll give him that, but still his diet is complete shit. So yeah. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you Thursday for Chiropractic is Sexy. I'm not sure I can be here next Sunday. We have a festival here in town. It's my favorite weekend of the summer. So we'll see. It just depends on how the weekend plays out. I might try to get something pre-recorded for you. And then I will have see you for tomorrow for Reset Monday. Probably going to pop up a pre-recorded video up there for you too. That will be pretty cool. So tune into that. And thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe, help me to continue to grow this channel. And if there's anything you want me to talk about, let me know. I'm here for you. I want to help you learn and connect and live a better life and leave a legacy of health and wellness. All right, you guys, thanks so much for being here. See you soon.